postea, dum tribuni imperium consulare legibus definire connantur, Lucius Quinctius Cincinnatus consul factus est. Okay, afterwards, boring adverb there. Notice we have this nice temporal clause here. During this time, while subject, imperium consulare is your direct object, legibus is ablative, and connantur is your deponent verb that takes a complementary infinitive. So while the tribunes were doing this to these guys, or to this, by means of the laws, and then here's your main sentence, Cincinnatus, a factus est passive verb, he was made consul. Notice consul is nominative, just like Cincinnatus, because they're both the same thing. Factus est is like a linking verb here. He was the consul. And when you're linking two things, they need to be in the same case. Continuing on. Ut magistratum iniit reprehendet et senatum et plebum quod eidem tribuni etiam creati civitatem turbarent. Okay, so ut plus a subjunctive would be some sort of subjunctive clause, but notice this is an indicative verb, so this is just a boring as. Ut plus an indicative means as. So as he did this to this, and then here's the main part. He reprehended. He chewed out. Who did he yell at? 1 and 2. Notice at that makes it both and. He yelled at both the Senate and the plebs. Why? Quod, that's a causal clause, which makes sense because we also have a subjunctive verb here. So here is another clause. It's a causal clause. Notice a subjunctive verb because, okay, eidem means the same, and it modifies tribuni. The same guys, this phrase here, etiam et atque etiam, again and again. And this is an adverbial phrase that modifies creati, which talks about the tribunes. So the same guys having been made tribunes, etiam atque etiam, what did they do? That's all one big subject. They did this to that. Moving on. Senatus igitur decrevit magistratus continuare contra rem publicam esse. So apparently the Senate paid attention to what Cincinnatus said. So the Senate therefore decreed, and that takes an accusative infinitive construction. And this is a super cool accusative infinitive construction because inside it is another accusative infinitive. So we're going to start here. It decreed, and it's going to end there. Inside here, of course, is just a boring prepositional phrase. So it's basically saying the continuation to continue to continuously re-elect the same magistrates, literally the magistrates to be continued, is against the Republic. So they made a law saying you can't keep electing the same guys over and over and over to be tribunes because they cause too much hassle for the Senate. Plebs tamen eostem quos antia tribunos creaverent. Well, let's see how the plebs took this. However, tamen, well, I wonder if they're going to listen. Eostem, notice eostem is the same as eidem, because they both have dem, which means the same. It's just a different form. Eidem up here is nominative, and down here it's accusative, so it's probably going to go with an accusative. Oh, and of course it talks about this accusative over here. The same tribunes. Then we have this little relative thing in here, whom previously, and the verb creaverent, of course, is gapped inside here. So the plebs made the same guys tribunes whom they made before. So again, that verb is gapped inside your little relative clause. So apparently the plebs didn't like the senators telling them who they should or should not elect. Patres quoque nequid caederent plebi Lucium Quinctium consulum fecerent. Okay, so the senators also, and then before we can find out what they did, we have this nifty subjunctive clause here. Notice caederent, of course, is subjunctive. Ne, well, normally we would have ut, except ne makes it an opposite of ut. So it's a negative purpose clause. So that quid is interesting because it should be aliquid, except after si, nisi, num, and ne, all the alis go away. So it's understood to be aliquid, but they just have quid. And then the subject of caederant, of course, is the senators. So the senators also, so that they not caederant anything to the plebs, what did they do? Oh, Lucium quinctium. Notice that's the same guy here as up here, but instead of calling him Cincinnatus, they use this name, Lucium quinctium, and then they made him the consul. So apparently, if you're going to elect your same guys over again, we're going to elect our same guy over again. They sound like big kids, don't they? So they made him the consul. At is being, of course, Cincinnatus, is minime miram est, inquit, si nihil auctoritatis patres conscripti habetus apud plebem. Okay, so what is his response? It is hardly miram, strange, remarkable, surprising, he said, if nihil auctoritatis is genitive, nothing of authority, we're still wondering, patres conscripti, that is vocative, he's talking to them. Hey, conscript fathers, O senators, it's hardly remarkable if nothing of authority, oh, here it is, here's the verb, if you have nothing of authority, and then prepositional phrase, among the plebs. It is hardly strange that you have no authority, or if you have no authority, among the plebs. Why is that? Vos eam minuitus, qui in continuandis magistratibus plebem imitamini. Okay, vos. So he's emphasizing y'all by giving us that, stating it instead of just implying it. So that's our subject. Am, that's got to go with something feminine and singular. I think it's talking about the authority up there. Am, and that's your direct object. Minuitus, okay, main verb. So you guys do this to it, i.e. authority. And then he goes on to describe how this happens. Qui, of course, relative clause. And it's probably referring back to the other plural masculine thing, y'all. So you guys who what? Who, in continuandis magistratibus, prepositional phrase, and we'll go back to that in just a second. So we've got a subject, a deponent verb, and then your direct object. But let's take a peek at this continuandis magistratibus. Do you see the ND there? Oh, okay. So this is either a gerund or a gerundive. But notice we have a noun next door in the same case. So continuandis is actually a gerundive. But it's a gerundive because we're doing that gerund flip-flop thing. Because he's trying to say you guys are just as bad as the plebs in the act of continuing the magistrates, in the act of picking the same magistrates. So normally that would be continuando in the act, in the ablative, of picking the magistrates in the accusative. But remember, Latin does not like a gerund that takes a direct object, so they flipped it around so that the magistrates are in the ablative and the gerund, continuandis, is modifying it. So in continuing the magistrates, in picking the same guys, y'all are imitating the plebs. Ego me contra senatus consultum consulum refici non patiar. Okay, I being the amazing Cincinnatus, I, something about myself in the accusative case. Contra senatus consultum. Oh, there's a prepositional phrase. In opposition to a decree of the Senate, the senatus consultum. Okay, but we are still waiting to see what the verb is. Consulum refici. Oh, we've got a passive infinitive. Oh, here it is. I will not allow. Notice that's future tense. How do I know? Because the a in an IO verb in the first person is future. I will not allow me, myself, to be made consul. Why not? Because that would be in opposition to the senatus consultum. Alias igitur consul factus est. Okay, some other nominative, therefore, consul factus est. Post paucos annos, aequi exercitum Romanum munitionibus clausum obsedebant. Oh, just when you think things have cleared up in Rome, we've got some pesky neighbors again. Okay, prepositional phrase here. Aequi, bad guys. Exercitum Romanum looks accusative to me, so we've got a subject, the aequi, and they're doing something to the Roman army. Wonder what it could be. Munitionibus ablative. Well, why is this ablative? Oh, because we have a passive participle over here talking about the Roman army. So it's accusative and it's passive. So the aequi were doing this to the Roman army having been clausumed by the ablative there. Cum hoc Romam nuntiatum esset, Lucius Quinctius consensu omnium dictator dictus est. Okay, we've got this subjunctive clause here. Notice, of course, cum plus a subjunctive verb. There's no ablative, so it's one of those cum clauses. Hoc is neuter, and that is the subject of nuntiatum esset. And Romam is just at Rome. When this was announced at Rome, don't forget Cincinnatus. They don't call him Cincinnatus. They're calling him Quinctius. He's our subject. Ablative by the agreement of everyone. And then we have another one of those. Instead of factus est, this time it was dictus est. So he dictus est dictator. And again, this is nominative because we're talking about the same guy. Legati a senatu misi eam invenerunt trans Tiberum agram quator iugerum colentum atque in opus intentum. Okay, so these are the happy messengers, and they show up when you've been ordained dictator. Okay, prepositional phrase by the Senate. Misi, of course, is modifying the envoys right there. Passive participle. Eum, okay, accusative masculine singular, probably talking about who? Well, our hero, Cincinnatus. So this is your direct object, and then here's your verb. So they found him. They, having been sent by the Senate, they found him. Where did they find him? Across the river, the Tiber River. And then we've got a field. This is how big his field is. 4 eugeras big. But what about this field and him? Oh, he is doing this. So colentum is a participle modifying eum. So we have a participial phrase that goes there. It starts there and it's ending there. So they found him taking care of his land, and he was also intentum on this prepositional phrase. He was a busy guy. Vrogaverent ut togatus mandata senatus audiret. Okay, so apparently they show up, he's working hard on the farm, and notice rogaverent is plural, so those legates, they didn't ask a question, but actually in this instance, they asked an indirect command. They asked that he, so we've got ut plus a subjunctive there. Togatus, having been toged, that means apparently he was wearing his farmer clothes. They asked that he, having been toged, what did he do? What did they want him to do? To hear what? Mandata, the orders of the Senate, because apparently it's not cool to be a dictator in your, I don't know, farmer boots. Quintius admiratus ubet uxorum togatum propere et turgurio profere. Hey guys, I've never seen that word turgurio before. That's kind of cool. I think the Cambridge word for that would be like a casa, a hut or something. But anyways, keep going. Quinctius, our subject. Admiratus, that is a deponent participle modifying Quinctius. Having wondered, I guess I would wonder if somebody said, go get dressed so you can hear what we're going to say to you. He orders, and ubet takes an accusative infinitive construction. You order an accusative to do an infinitive. He ordered, so we're going to bracket that off. He ordered his wife. Okay, he ordered his wife to do something to a toga. Do not mix up propere with an infinitive. That is not the infinitive. That looks like an adverb. Probably means quickly. A tugurio, from this new word for hut or little house. Oh, and then here's your infinitive. He ordered his wife to profere. Notice the root fere comes from fero fere. So probably bring. And I'm anticipating that propere means like quickly. He orders his wife to snag the toga quickly out of the house. Cum absterso sudore toga velatus processit, dictatorum eam legati salutant, atque in urbem vocant, qui terror sit in exercitu exponent. Okay, when, but before we figure out the rest of the when, we have a nifty ablative absolute, and I'm sure you guys could translate that as with noun, having been participled. Okay, toga velatus processit, so this cum is giving us a subjunctive clause because we can see the subjunctive verb there. So when, having been covered or clothed in a toga, he had come out, so he got dressed. What happened then? Dictatorum eam legati salutant. Okay, subject, verb, direct object 2. It's a factitive kernel. They are calling him the dictator. The legates greet the accusative, as a dictator. By the way, if you hear the cheering, that's because I am sequestered away, but some sort of election results came in. Who knows? Either way, I'm depressed. So anyways, they greet him as dictator, and they call him where? In urbem. Qui terror sit. Okay. Guys, is anybody noticing we have a random subjunctive verb here? All right, what kind of a subjunctive clause do we have? I don't see a cum. I don't see a ut. Oh, well, I see a QU word. Probably an indirect question, which makes sense because it's a question word with a subjunctive. So, what kind of terror, what terror there was, what terror is in the army? Oh, there it is. They explain. So the legates explain what the terror is, and actually in exercitu is part of that subjunctive clause. So we're going to bracket it off like this. Hold on, let me fix that. It goes like this. So they explain what terror is in the army. Again, we know that this is an indirect question because we have a subjunctive verb with the question word. Quinctius exercitum obsessum celeriter liberavit, et hostes sub jugum misit. Okay, so Cincinnatus, direct object. What about this direct object? And whatever it is, it happened quickly. Oh, here it is. He did this to the besieged army quickly. And what else did he do? Well, apparently he kicked their butts. How do we know that? Because it involves beneath the yoke. He sent the bad guys beneath the yoke. Triumphans urbem iniit, sextoque decimo die dictatorum in sex menses acceptum deposuit. Triumphans, oh, looks nominative singular. I betcha it's a present active participle, modifying our hero, Cincinnatus. He went there, and, oh, is this the ablative of time when? Yeah, it sure is. So, how do we know? Well, because we've got the word day, and it's ablative, so on that day, and you know I don't count. Okay, dictatorum, that must be the dictatorship. Another prepositional phrase there. More time stuff. He put down the dictatorship, having been accepted for 6 months. So he was entitled to it for 6 months, but he didn't keep it because instead he put it down on that day.